Hey everyone, Angie Fairbanks here. Welcome to the call. I'm excited that you guys are on the call. I'm excited to have Dr. Tony Alessandra on the call today. We had an awesome webinar last week and looking forward to the upcoming things that he is going to offer today on, not offer, but talk about on sales IQ and everything. So, without further ado, Dr. Tony, take it away. I'm going to put myself on mute and hand it over to you.
Okay, Angie, thank you so much, and welcome everybody. I appreciate you attending this program. We're going to talk about the sales IQ, but let me give you a little background first about what the sales IQ is. In fact, let me just pull something up here. There's the sales IQ. That's the front page of the report. It's a 32-page report right now. Now, the sales IQ actually is an objective analysis. It's really a personalized map of your sales knowledge. And when I say your, it would be your clients, salespeople, potential hires. Now, the sales IQ is not an assessment of intelligence, except as it relates to selling. It's almost like a sales IQ, intelligence. Scores on the sales IQ tell you how ready and how suited this person is for sales, the person who's taking it. It shows you how well they understand sales and will approach the sales process. Now, it's not the only predictor of sales success, as the salesperson's behavioral style, their ambition, their drive, their personal attitudes, their motivators, their judgment, the quality of their decision making can and often do contribute to sales success. So this sales IQ, we ask people to respond to 48 actual sales scenarios with a best to worst scorecard. Now, when I say best to worst, for each of these 48 sales scenarios, there are 4 possible answers, and the person has to rank those answers, or at least pick the best answer, even though all 4 may be in one way or another correct. Now, the 48 questions come from 8 different areas, what we might call the most critical stages of successful selling. We randomly choose 48 questions from a database of 160 and growing questions, so that no 2 salespeople can get the same report, and no salesperson who retakes it can get the same actual questionnaire. Of the 48 questions, there are 6 questions in each of the 8 critical stages of selling. Let me define what those stages are, and then I'll show you some things in this report. One stage is preparing, which basically covers how you prepare for the sale and how you prepare yourself. The second one is targeting, where we explore the markets or groups of people that you might target as prospects. Third is the connecting process, which is the initial contact step, where you're either making contact either via email or more likely on the telephone or in person, where you have to appeal to prospects or customers intellectually so that they see you as a credible resource, and connect with them emotionally so that they trust you as a person. The fourth area is assessing needs and assessing wants, and here we are trying to uncover what to sell and how to sell it, primarily through the probing, questioning and listening and feedback process. The fifth step is solving the buyer's problem, or what many people might call the presentation process. This is where we provide solutions, we fill their need. This is where most of the sales attention has been placed in the past. The sixth step is the confirming or closing phase. Once you actually have shown the prospect or customer that you can solve their problem, it's time to get commitment from them to actually buy from you, to do the actual purchase. The seventh step is assuring, and that is customer service, exceeding expectations, basically assuring that the value that you promised in the presentation process is actually being received by the customer in the usage process. And then finally, the eighth stage that we look at is managing, and that's managing, which is actually our last phase of the sales cycle, where you manage sales and accounts, and you're doing self-management. That's management of yourself. So the 8 phases that we cover, 6 questions in each: preparing, targeting, connecting, assessing needs, solving the problem or the presentation process, confirming or closing, assuring customer satisfaction, and managing both the sales process and yourself. So those are the 8 phases of what we cover. Now, what I'd like to do is show you the actual questionnaire that people will go to. When we send people a link and they click on the link to take the Sales IQ Plus, they have to put in there their name, first name, last name, and email address, because typically it's sent to them, the report. So Tony, Alessandra, it'll come back to me. I'm going to click proceed to the next step. And what comes up here is it tells me I'm allowed to take the Sales IQ Plus assessment. I haven't started it yet. When I started it, we'll put a date and time in here, and this will show me whether I've completed it or not. Notice that if you or anybody else is doing this, notice up top here, we're going to change the colors here, which has some additional information about the profile, support, etc. And if somebody's taking a 360 assessment, like let's say social styles, it will have another category up here called observers, and that's where they get their observer link. So we're going to make this stand out more. I think a lot of people may miss it because it kind of fades into the background, so to speak. But I want to complete the assessment, so I'm going to click on that. And it asks me questions. So here's, it tells me what to do. Below you will see 48 sales scenarios randomly chosen from a database of over 160 sales scenarios. If I went back in and tried to click a link, it would give me different questions. They're random. Each sales scenario contains 4 possible courses of action. And you'll see what I mean here. For each sales scenario, choose the most appropriate course of action by clicking the button next to the best answer. Here's the buttons right here. All right, radio buttons, we call them. You will continue to do this until all 48 sales scenarios have been completed. This sales assessment typically takes about 30 minutes to complete. So let's look at a couple of these questions here to make sure that we're doing things properly. All right, what are some questions that you can ask to get the prospect to dream aloud with you about their wants, their needs, whatever, okay? So these are some questions that we can ask the prospect. In a perfect world, what would what you want look like? Okay? If you could have the solution turn out any way you want, what would it be? Now that we've addressed the current reality, let's look at future possibilities. That's less of a question. Of course, we want you to pick what's the best. And what is it that you want as a solution but have never told others about? So what you do is you pick one of these. Now, 2 or 3 of these, and sometimes even all 4, could be correct. We're asking you to pick what you think is the most correct. All right? So let's just pick this one. We click it, and we move to the next. Now, if you want to change an answer, you can go previous. If you are finished with this or want to jump over it and come back later, you can go to next. But I suggest you do this in order. How can you get the prospect to tell you the real truth about their needs? In other words, what questions and actions will encourage them to speak candidly with you? Now, this is a sales scenario, all right? So here are 4 possible answers. Tell them that they can trust you. I'm not sure I would pick that. Tell them a story about how you worked with a client in a trustworthy way. Maybe. Explain that you can't give the right solution until you understand their real needs. Or 4th, ask what-if questions so that they don't feel that they're answering you so directly about what their needs are. And again, you have to decide which of these 4 scenarios would be the best for you. Now I can keep going through this, but you get the picture. If I want to go back and change it, there it is. If I want to go forward and go to another question, what if the person wants more than you can deliver? Refer them to someone else who can help them, explain what you can do and what you can't do, serve them in stages and find resources for the extra, et cetera, et cetera. So this is the questionnaire that people go through, 48 questions. Notice the bar on the bottom. It tells you how far along you are, but remember, we already told them it's 48 questions, but this kind of just gets them along the process. So let's close that and come back to the Sales IQ Plus. I want to tell you that once somebody finishes that, they're going to get this report. The report is automatically emailed to them unless you decide you do not want them to get it, that you want it sent to you, and then that you are going to go through this with them side by side, or you are having it delivered to their sales manager or sales coach, and that person is going to go through their report with them. So what they get, the results come complete with all of the why or the rationale answers, and it's basically a personalized assessment with 48 mini sales lessons. I mean, it really is incredible. So let me show you. I'm going to go to page 5. Pages 2, 3, and 4 are simply introductory material, but let's go to page 5. And let me show you the first thing that they will see. They're going to see their scores in each of the areas. Now, you'll note that in this particular situation, there are actually 16 sections here, and the 16 are situations where we take each one, and you'll see in a second, we take each of those 8 phases and we break it in half. So I mentioned to you that the first phase was preparing, where we basically explore the markets or groups that you want to target. So we have sales preparation and self-preparation. There's 2 phases to that. Now with each of these, notice 2 phases for targeting, 2 phases for connecting with the head, connecting with the heart. A couple of things I want to point out. Each of these areas, it tells you what question numbers were asked. And if you click on any of these, notice they are hot linked. It will actually bring you to a video that explains this. So let's see how that works. So here's a 2-minute and 8-second video that explains that competency of sales preparation. All right, and it's Jim Cathcart, one of the authors of the Sales IQ, who's giving us the explanations. And notice that there's 16 of these video explanations if you want to get a little bit more in depth. Now here's the interesting thing. Based on your score, you are going to get a check mark in one of these 4 areas. It's going to tell you whether an area is highly developed, which means you are really, really good at it. You've probably scored 75% or above in the percentile. Advanced development, you've scored between 50 and 75. Early development, 25 to 50. And needs development, you've scored 25% or lower. So we have that page, all right? Very important page. Why is this important? Because as a coach or a sales manager, it tells you the areas where they are incredibly strong in and the areas where they actually need some work. So I would say the highly developed and advanced development, they're probably pretty good at, and the early development and needs development, those are the areas that I would want to focus on. The beauty of this Sales IQ, and I may repeat this later, is that, you know, I have been a sales trainer, by the way, since 1970. My God, it sounds so long. But since 1970, I have taught sales and did sales training. first at the university level, and then starting in 1974 at the corporate level. And what we have typically done, we go into a company, we get all their salespeople, and we deliver the same program to all the salespeople. Now notice in that session of all these salespeople, some of them in an area that I am discussing may be highly developed, and to them they're yawning because I know all this, and others really need development, so they're taking copious notes. And then when I talk about another area, let's say like the whole needs analysis or assessing process, that person who was really good at targeting needs to know more about that because they're not as good at that. But yet, when we do a one-size-fits-all program, we're delivering the same material to everybody, whether they need it or not. So what this allows you to do is customize based on how people score. Let's go to the next page. The next page is sort of interesting because it tells us over here for each of the 8 areas the percentage of time you chose the single best answer. All right, so here's your score. What percentage of time you chose the best answer. And this percentage here is all salespeople. So what we do is every single person who's ever taken the sales IQ, we consolidate, and this is the average of all salespeople. So it tells you how you did compared to all salespeople. So we did better here, way better in targeting, way better in connecting, and so on down the line. In fact, all salespeople didn't do too well. The second area is the amount of time you chose either the first or the second best answer. Now, why do we even have this category? We have this category because even though we may say this is the best answer, well, things are different out there. It depends on the disc style of the individual you're calling on. It may be situational in terms of the company and what's going on there. So for us, a really good salesperson may know the best answer, but if that's not what you should be doing in a particular situation with a particular prospect or customer, you have to readily be able to move to the next best answer. So that's why we say, okay, what percentage of time did you choose either the first or second best answer? Notice in this particular scenario, 4 times of the four of the 8 areas, 100% of the time, they chose the first or second best answer. Now, the third category, which again is quite interesting, is the category that basically says, okay, what percentage of time did you avoid choosing what we believe to be the worst answer? All right, so what you want your score to be obviously is 100% here. So again, look at all the 100%. Didn't do too well in the assessing process because all salespeople, they scored 92%. This particular individual only 67%. But most of the time throughout here, this person really did quite well. So pages 5 and 6 of the report are sort of an overview of everything. Then we get into each of the 8 areas. And each of the 8 areas, what we do is, this is prepare. So what we do is we tell you out of the 6 questions that we gave you in preparing to sell, which was sales preparation and self-preparation, you chose 2 of the most appropriate answers, 3 of the second most, and 1 the third most appropriate. And then we give you a score here. And I'm kind of toying with the idea of taking this percentage out. I haven't really decided yet what to do. This is a percentile. This basically says, okay, your score is 48%. That just means 48% of all the people that ever took the sales IQ scored the same or not as well as you. So your score is 48%. What we do is for each of these areas, we say, okay, in prepare to sell, here are the areas that are measured: external preparation, internal preparation, mental preparation, physical preparation, just a little background on what we are measuring here. all right? And we say to improve your score, take action on the numerous suggestions on page 10. So we'll get to that in a second. But watch what we do here. We tell you for every one of the questions, we give you the actual question that was in the questionnaire. We tell you what you chose as your answer. Here you chose the best answer, okay? We tell you what the best answer was and then why we believe it was the best answer. And I'll get to what I mean by we. I'll tell you who created this. Then in question 32, here's the scenario. We say you chose the second best answer, and we tell you what that answer was. We tell you what the best answer was and why. And we do this for all the questions, all right? And then we get into some of the areas. And actually, I think here we got to fix that page. I know we cut a page out, and I didn't correct this. So this tells you if you want to improve your score in the sales preparation area, here are some areas to explore to help improve your sales preparation effectiveness. And there's a lot of bullet points about what goes in to improving sales preparation. Then we go into self-preparation, and again, here are some areas that you could look at to see where you can improve your score on self-preparation. Now, all these bullet points may or may not apply, but at least apply to you or apply to your unique selling situation or to your client's unique selling situation, but there are enough here that do. And the great thing here is for a coach, a consultant, a trainer, or a sales manager can sit down with a salesperson, each individual salesperson who's taken the sales IQ, and go through some of the areas where they're doing well and discuss it, and go through some of the areas where they actually can do better and talk about ways to improve those areas. Now, you'll notice that we do this for each of the 8 areas. So here's target. This person did incredibly well for target, 96%, because they had 5 most appropriate and only 1 second most. And again, we go through all 6 of the questions, what was answered, what the rationale was, and then how to improve targeting the right markets and targeting the right methods. And again, for everyone, here's somebody who scored 99. I believe in percentiles, you really can't get 100%. 99 is about the highest score you can get. So this was a very incredible score. And again, we do the same thing. Did not do as well in assess, and we saw that back earlier with there were several of the yellow check marks in terms of needs improvement. Same thing with the presentation process, did pretty well here with confirming the sale. Very good with assuring customer satisfaction, and so on. So this is what you get when it comes to the actual sales IQ report itself. The beauty, again, of this type of report is that when you use it with one of your clients, you actually can create unique sales improvement processes for each individual salesperson. It gives you a way to coach each salesperson on an individualized basis, talking about their strengths and their struggles and giving them some areas that they can work on to improve, as opposed to doing a one-size-fits-all workshop where everybody sits in there, and as you go from topic to topic and skill to skill in selling, you're going to hit some people who need it and other people who have mastered it. So this allows you to tailor your coaching specifically salesperson to salesperson, or at least you can train the sales manager within your client companies to do the same thing. So this is a great resource. Now there's another part to this. So let's look at part 2. There's 3 parts. So part 1 was, this is in fact, let me go back to the front. This is the individualized Sales IQ Plus. This is the report, 32 pages. It's a sales skills test, okay? Now let's look at another aspect of this, and that is the team report. So let's say that you as the coach or trainer or manager want to know how your entire team is doing. And again, here we have the same areas where we look at our check marks and see how our team as a whole is doing in the various areas of selling. Now notice in this particular team, I randomly picked this team, there's a lot of development as a team. Now if somebody doesn't want to take the time to go through every individual salesperson one-on-one and do individualized coaching, and they only want to do it on a team basis, here's a way they can do that. And again, when we go to page 6, it's the same type of report as the individual report, but here we're doing it on average for the entire. It says your score. This is the individual average. Percentage of time they picked the first or second, percentage of time they avoided the least effective answer. And again, the rest of the pages are very similar, except for the fact that we can't go into a question by question because, remember, this is random, and there's so many different questions that would be in this preparing to sell, the sales preparation and sell preparation. Each of the 8 areas have so many possibilities. But what we do here is we give you a score, we give you the team score. This is a team score of 43%, but now we get into specific areas that you can focus on with each of, with your team. So here's sales preparation, and here's sell preparation. Here's some notes that you can take. And again, you can go through everything this way. Now, some people might want to know, how do I create a team assessment? Because a team assessment, you actually could do as many team reports as you want. So what I did is I pulled up the area. This is your action coach, and again, for people who are not action coaches, this when you go to your admin login, you will see this page. One of the options is group reporting. All right, so I clicked on group reporting. I can look for a particular date range if I want. Here, there's a pull-down menu for all of our different group reports. A lot of DISC group reports. There's a motivators group or team report. But here I want the sales IQ. So that's what I clicked on, was the sales IQ right here. If I wanted to hone down a little bit more, I can pick a user group. So if, let's say there's a client group, I can do that and only work with a particular company. So these are the groups here. Or I could even just focus on a link that I've sent people. Now here, you can click on as many people as you want. I'm going to select all. So however many people that you select, I'm just selecting all, but you can select as many as you want. But when I select these people, I then have to click the arrows to move them over. So I'm going to click these arrows. I'm going to move them over here, and you'll see what happens. They'll all move over here. As they move over here, it's going to ask me right up here to generate the team report. So, you know, the more of these that you click on, the longer it takes. I have 45 people that I clicked on, so it takes just a little bit longer to move them over. But I've already done this. I've clicked the team report. I'll come back to this and show you what it says. But here is the team report of 45 people. And again, I'm going to go to page 6 here, and this shows you their development. Again, here, nobody, this is a better group. By the way, these are all action coaches, so you guys are doing pretty well. most of you are in this advanced development, which is great. There's a couple of areas, maybe in the connecting area, that need a little bit of work. And then sporadically, throughout, there's a couple of areas that may need some work. Again, how often did you choose the best answer? And I would say every single time you way exceeded the group of all salespeople in all of these areas, so did very, very well. And again, we go into your scores here. So that's how you do it. I don't know what happened here. Let me deselect and let me just click 5 people, move them over. That should happen a lot faster. This is something I already did before, so maybe it's causing me some problems because I already did this. Let me just go into group reporting again. But you see what it is. Here's all the people, and then you just click View Report, and this is what you will get, this report here. So that's the team report. Your online assessment account includes access to this team report, or to any team report, as long as you have an assessment in there. We have it specifically for the Sales IQ. That's what I'm showing you, and it can be run an unlimited number of times. So I showed you how to do that. And again, it's a great way to look and see how our team is doing. Now, the last thing I want to show you is basically this, and that is the Sales IQ Plus coaching guide. All right. So I call it the manager's coaching guide. So it could be for the sales manager, but again, it could be for a coach who goes through this whole process. So we give a little bit of background on the cover. It takes approximately 30 minutes, et cetera, et cetera. And it kind of walks you through how to use the coaching guide. And let me just point out a couple of things that it says in this Sales IQ Plus that I think is important. So rather than showing it to you, I'll just tell you a couple of things, and then I'll show you a couple of things in this Sales IQ. When somebody through a Sales IQ, what you do is you find out how somebody, what their mindset is, how they would go about solving particular situations, scenarios, problems in the selling environment. And from their answers, from the answers of the salespeople who take this, you can develop a plan to overcome an individual's sales weaknesses. You can simplify your sales training to focus only on their current needs rather than everything. You can focus on the areas that produce the results the soonest, all right, maybe the key areas. Maybe it's the commitment process that they're not doing well. Now, here's an important thing. Almost all the answers, so all 4 possible answers for all 48 sales scenarios that somebody would see, almost all the answers are potentially right answers. So when constructing this assessment, we chose a selection of answers that would all be correct in certain circumstances. So some answers are particularly effective in most situations, and others would only apply to certain types of selling or in unique circumstances. So what you have to do is when you are coaching somebody who has taken a Sales IQ, you need to review their scores in that context, that even though we may choose what we believe is the best answer, it does not mean that in every situation, for every type of sales scenario or every type of sales product or service, it is the best answer. To do that would be near impossible. So what I suggest you do is you sit down with people, you look at their answers, you find out their rationale why they chose an answer, and sometimes when they describe what their rationale was, why they chose the answer, you may say, you know what, that's better, even though you picked the second best, or maybe even sometimes the third best, by them explaining why they chose it, you may say, you know, that's a pretty good rationale. Let's, you know, skip over that. Now, let's get to who created the sales IQ assessment. I'm sure you want to know that because that is important, who created this. Well, what we say is 3 of the world's leading sales trainers and authors have created this: Jeffrey Gitomer, Jim Cathcart, and me. Most importantly, all of us were at one time professional salespeople. In fact, we all still to this day sell. We all paid our dues selling door to door, selling over the phone, in person, starting at the very bottom, earning our way to the very top. Between the 3 of us, are you ready for this? We have sold automobiles, insurance, cookware, professional services, residential and commercial burglar and fire alarm systems, investments, training programs, consulting, and I can go on and on. We've worked with thousands of clients around the world in a vast array of industries and professions. We have sold in boardrooms. We have sold within large meetings, programs, seminars. We've sold one-on-one. We've sold in executive offices, across the kitchen table, on farms, in automobiles, via teleconferences, conference calls, even informal negotiations. So, in short, if anyone understands selling from a multitude of perspectives, it's the 3 of us. Gitomer, who is the author of the Sales Bible, and I believe either the Sales Bible or the Little Red Book of Selling, one of his 2 books, is the most widely sold sales book ever. Jim Cathcart is the author of several books, but the big one we put down here is Relationship Selling. I'm the author of several sales books, the author of Non-Manipulative Selling, Collaborative Selling, and the Platinum Rule for DISC Sales Mastery. So we've all 3 of us been inducted into the Professional Speakers Hall of Fame. We've delivered our sales training to thousands of audiences worldwide. So that's the 3 of us who created this. We believe that the types of selling this assessment applies to small businesses and even large enterprises. I mean, we've identified the industries and sales processes most prevalent today, and then we created a matrix of types of products and services being sold, styles and modes of selling. I can go on and on. Reasons for buying, you know, et cetera, et cetera. We consider the challenges that come up in sales, and we validated this. We used what we call face validity, where the user actually agrees with the accuracy of the report. All right, I mean, it's face value. That's face validity. We went directly to users. We did our beta test with our worldwide network of clients and colleagues and had a number of early looks at the Sales IQ Plus where they provided very enlightened feedback on what we were measuring, how we presented the information, and even the accuracy of our best answers and our ranking of answers, what we considered number 1, 2, 3, and 4. They told us how they wanted to use the tool, and they told us how to make it even better. So this is the coaching guide. We go into a little bit of overview. We talk again about the 8 steps. We talk about how to use this, how to use the report. We show you the Sales IQ effectiveness ratings and even the developmental chart. We talk about who wrote the assessment. This is a more in-depth analysis of what I was just telling you so that you have credibility when you are presenting this to your clients. We talk about where the questions came from. Again, this is the coaching guide, what types of selling it applies to, how it was validated, some questions that are explored by the assessment, okay? How ready is the salesperson to succeed in selling, all the way down to, how competent they are. We tell you a little bit more about the assessment. It's 48 questions, randomly chosen. And then we go into some of the areas that you can focus on, broken down a little bit differently than it is in the assessment itself and the assessment report and in the team report. We give you, we actually break preparing to sell into its areas. So we take sales preparation. We break sales preparation into two areas: external sales preparation and internal sales preparation, and give you, we define it for you, and we tell you some of the areas that you can focus on in coaching individual salespeople to be better in that area. And we take you through all of these. Self-preparation, two areas, mental and physical. So we give you a little bit more depth to make your coaching more meaningful in all 8 areas, all 16 subcategories. We tell you what to do, and even in the 16 subcategories, we break it 2 categories further so that you can really fine-tune and hone in on how to help individual salespeople improve their programs. If you want a little bit more information about the Sales IQ, simply go to our website, assessments24x7.com, all right? Go to Assessments, Specialty Reports, go to the Sales IQ Plus, and this is where it will take you. And again, it will tell you a little bit about what it is. It will, and this is something you could even show your clients or, print out. It tells you a little bit more. Is there a team report and how it's used? How often should you use it? We recommend that you should use this 2 to 4 times a year with salespeople, just to keep, to see how they're improving, how their scores are getting better, et cetera, et cetera. So here's a sample report, and here's manager's coaching guide. So that is that. Let me now ask Angie. We're about 45 minutes into the presentation. I want to know if anybody has asked any questions.
Yes, I have. Steve Gordonson asked, and near the beginning, are the videos new? He had a client use this and didn't have the link. If he downloaded the report again, will the links to the video be there?
Absolutely, absolutely. All you have to do is just regenerate the report, regenerate it, okay? Not just pull it out, but you have to regenerate it, so all the links now will be new links and a new setup. So yeah, just have them do that, and you'll have all the videos. Even in the manager's coaching guide that I was showing you, you'll notice in the manager's coaching guide, all of these right here are hot links. Even when you go back to the page here, all of these are video links, so you have access to all of that. So Angie, let's go to the next question, please.
Actually, not a next question. I'm actually going to take Jim Cathcart off the line. He's been texting back and forth here. So, hey Jim, how you doing? Unmute yourself. Where'd he go?
I don't think
there you go. Hey Jim. There we go.
I don't think Jim is able to mute himself. I'm surprised.
Hi Jim.
Very nice.
Now, Jim is one of our lead co-authors on this. He did an enormous amount of work on this. So let's hear what Jim has to say.
Well, I'll tell you, I love the way you're going through it, Tony. And a couple of things I wanted to point out. One, if a person, a coach, a trainer is ever intimidated by an audience of like really high-power sales professionals, and they're using this instrument, the beauty of this instrument is it levels that playing field by allowing them to just coach them on the skills they've proven through the assessment that they need. So no more nervousness about being intimidated that, this guy's been at it 30 years and he's a millionaire and I'm a fairly new coach. You can go directly to what that person needs to know, because everybody knows less than you on something. And everybody, no matter how low on the totem pole, knows more than you on something. And then one more thing, with the team score, well, actually two more things. When you do the team scores, it's helpful to have a flip chart up front where you can post this or to somehow project it onto a big screen so everybody can see the entire team in a matrix of all the different parts of selling, and they can see we've got 3 people that are strong in this and 3 people that are not in this one and so forth. And that leads to a very rich discussion where they're kind of self-prescribing, if you know what I mean. They say, oh, well, obviously we need more blank, and they're playing right into your hands, of course. And then finally, this instrument may be the only major sales assessment, and by the way, we just won in 2015 the Silver Medal Award from Top Sales World in London as the #2 top sales assessment in the world according to the ones that they were ranking. That's pretty cool. But
Yeah,
this may be
Jim, let me just add, we came in #2, but #1 was a sales selection tool, so it wasn't really even the same as what ours is. Ours is a developmental tool. Theirs was a selection tool.
Yeah, and ours had only been out during that year, so we didn't have a long history to work from. We had done it all in a very quick way. So this sales assessment may be the only one that's on the major one that's on the market today that actually reveals the sales culture, the predominant attitudes or mindsets in that company or that organization. See, when you are able to assess the sales culture by revealing things like this, you can craft new forms of communication for that company or group to use to kind of reinforce the attitudes they want. You can come up with the appropriate slogans or statements or terminology that fits the mindset that they want to build and reinforce. So this is pretty cool when you think about how this can be used. And actually, a person's score on this doesn't matter nearly as much as what a person does in dialogue about each of these questions and how they could have a better approach to that situation.
Absolutely, Jim. Very, very crucial point. Even in questions that supposedly they got wrong, by sitting down with a salesperson and talking about what their thought process was that prompted them to answer it a particular way, or why they were answering this way, thinking about a particular client situation, it's just an incredible coaching tool, whether you were a coach, a trainer, or consultant.
That reminded me of a dialogue I had with a client the other day who's using this. He said, can I use this for selection? I said, absolutely. I said, but it will not be something that's a litmus test where you just dip the person in the assessment, get a score, and it tells you whether to hire them or not. What this does is it gives you their answers and an outline of things to talk about with them so that you can determine face-to-face with them whether they fit your sales culture or not, whether they need more training or whether they're ready to hit the ground running with your company. So using this as an assessment tool for selection, although it's much more hands-on than one that you would just give them, get a score, and make a decision, is far more valuable, and you'll have a better sales team using this than you would using some clinical kind of an assessment tool.
Excellent feedback, Jim. Excellent. Angie, any other questions from the audience?
Yes. So are there any marketing materials flyers available for this specific product?
We are, again, if you go to our website, like I showed, there is material there, and I believe that we are creating a flyer, a sales flyer for the Sales IQ Plus. So yes, as soon as it's ready, it will be put on everybody's admin login page.
Awesome. And is there already a one sheet of the Sales IQ?
Well, that's what we're creating. The one sheet
Fantastic.
being the flyer about what it is and how it can be used. But keep in mind, even on this page here, this is almost like a one sheet right here. So while you're waiting for us to finish ours, because we also have to look at not just the copy, but also the graphics of this whole thing, and that's why it's taking us a little bit longer. But here's a lot of the key copy right here.
Fantastic.
Other questions, Angie?
One comment. You mentioned possibly removing the graphs. Can you further explain? And then I believe that's it.
Okay, so let's go back to the graphs. And again, I haven't talked this over with Jim, Cathcart, or Gitomer. I'm just telling you what my gut's telling me. And Jim, you're going to have to give me your analysis on what you're hearing from people. But let's go to the score here. So let me give you a good example. Here's somebody that scored a 96, a 99. Oh, let's look at this one. I found that sometimes, here's somebody who had 3 most appropriate answers. So 50% of their answers were the most appropriate, but they scored a 41%. Of course, that was because 2 of the times they picked the worst answer. And I'm just wondering if this discourages, seeing a percentage score might discourage a salesperson. Salespeople are highly competitive, many of them. They like to know how well they're doing. They have a high ego. When they see a 41%, would it discourage them? So anybody listening to this webinar, if you have an opinion on that, I'd love for you to shoot me an email, aja@alessandra.com. That's aja@alessandra.com. And let me know what you think. I mean, I keep everything else. I was just wondering, should we take this off here? And Jim, don't give me your answer while we're on the phone call here. You can tell me later. But I'm just kind of mulling it over because I've actually gotten a couple of comments from coaches who said that some salespeople were hurt. Their feelings were hurt that they scored so low in an area. So, Angie, that's what I'm thinking. That doesn't mean that I'm going to do that because I have to talk to my 2 co-authors, and both of them could overrule me. So,
Got it. Nope. Dr. Tony, that's awesome. Well done today. No more questions. Do you have any final words?
I just, each of these webinars, what I want to do is I want to focus in on a particular either concept or assessment. Today it was a sales IQ. Last week, February 3rd, we did DISC. Next program, which I think is March, when is it, March 16th?
It's 17th, is it? Let me just check really quick, I think.
I think it's
March 16th.
March 16th. I'm going to talk about the social styles plus assessment. Social styles, again, it's very, very similar to DISC in that it's a 4-style model. It's an incredible overlap with DISC. It shows your scores a little differently. It's not natural and adapted. It's in a grid, but it's a 360 assessment, which means once you take it and you see where you put yourself, you can then send out a link to as many other people as you want to answer 18 simple questions, not 30, but 18, about how they see your behavior, and then you start seeing where they put you on this grid, and it's pretty intriguing. Plus, it measures adaptability. We have a 20-question part. Other than the 18 questions, there's 20 more that measure your degree of adaptability, flexibility, and versatility, and tells you where your strengths and struggles are in those areas. So it's different, but what I'll do is I'll explain how you would use this the Social Styles Plus in addition to using the disc, after the disc. And it just reminds me of a very detailed call that I had with an action coach who basically asked me, Tony, I put everybody through disc, what's next? We talked about social styles, and we talked about doing a couple of very interesting group or team building exercises around that, and he loved it. I don't know if he's done it yet, but as soon as he does, he said he was going to give me some feedback on it. But I think you'll enjoy this Social Styles Plus. It's very different. So anyway.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Angie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Tony Alessandra. For those of you who want to rewatch, re-listen, the recording for All Action Coach will be in our normal place, the dashboard. I will send the recording out to Dr. Tony Alessandra and his team, and he will advise you where to find it on his end. But other than that, it's been great. I'm so excited for all the initiatives that, thank you, Dr. Tony Alessandra, for doing everything you're doing for us in Action Coach. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this year progresses, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the 17th as well.
Perfect. All right.
All right, everyone. Bye for now. Have a great rest of the day.